A very good afternoon to all our esteemed and distinguished delegates who have joined us from different parts of the world for the United Kingdom Investment Summit 2025. It's going to be an interesting day with a lot of interesting discussions about the different investment avenues when it comes to United Kingdom. The United Kingdom continues to be a leading global destination for foreign direct investments, offering a unique combination of economic stability, transparency, and international connectivity. With London ranked among the top financial capital of the world, investors benefit from a robust regulatory framework, access to deep capital markets, and a highly skilled workforce. Beyond finance, the UK has become a hotspot for innovation in sectors like technology, life sciences, clean energy, real estate, advanced manufacturing, and education. The government has actively fostered a business-friendly environment with attractive incentives, including tax reliefs for R&D, special economic zones, and a well-structured immigration system for entrepreneurs and investors. Moreover, the UK's extensive trade agreements post-Brexit, coupled with the most strategic location, makes it an ideal launchpad for expansion in Europe and global markets. From stable residential and commercial property investments to high growth tech ventures and ESG aligned infrastructure projects, the UK offers a comprehensive, resilient ecosystem for both institutional and individual investors seeking long term returns and global impact. So, moving forward, we have a very special guest with us. He's Mr. Ansh Sachdeva from the University of Greater Manchester. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you so much for the introduction. And you rightly said to everyone listening, the UK is definitely a global magnet for investment. And we see businessman industries, people investing in the UK some way or the other, whether it be in education, real estate, healthcare. So it's a global sort of hub spot and one of the best cities in the world. The best, if you
Mhm.
ask me, for investment. So
Fantastic. So, Ansh, to start with, since you are the international business lead for UGM, I would request you to kindly let us know more about your profile and how do you came into the picture of international business lead for UGM itself, and how do you see the overall educational sector in UK booming?
so I'm the international business lead, so lead the strategy and the business development for the University of Greater Manchester, formerly known as the University of Bolton. I've been working on partnerships for 2 years now and bringing in investment to make sure that people know that there's a quality university in the Northwest. And there is a presence and awareness around it. It is home, this vibrant town is home to a lot of immigrants who leave their home for a better future in the UK. But if we talk about the UK in general, if you just look at the Imperial College, Oxford, Cambridge, UCL, all feature in the global top 10. So
Mhm.
that says a lot because five of the UK universities are top 10 in the QS World Rankings in 2025. And
Interesting.
the amount of recognition, skill levels that you develop when you get a UK degree, irrespective from where you get it. There's a lot of sort of respect towards it. A UK degree is something which is never a bad investment. If I just talk about in point of view of business and investment, UK attracted 750,000 students in 2022 and 2023.
Oh,
That's an
that's a huge
all-time
number.
high. Almost 800,000, and with over 180,000 being Indian students. And India surpassed that year China as the largest supplier of students. I would say source of students would be a better word. So
Mhm.
such growth reflects confidence in the UK educational offerings and reputation is still good. And if we talk about people and the job market, we all know that the job market is a bit difficult. to say the least at the moment. That's why the UK provides the post-study work visa opportunity, and the UK government's approach for 2021 has been pro-immigration, and
Mm-hmm.
it has boosted the appeal for international students who are
Mm-hmm.
allowed to work 2 to 3 years to get that investment back. So there is chance for return on investment. And this has been very popular in Indian students because amongst the Indian students, 42% of the people have got clear pathway to international work experience. If they stay
Interesting.
in, of course, it depends. If they stay in the UK, if they complete their education successfully, many other factors. So I think it's a wonderful way to gain international work experience. And the best thing that happened a couple of years ago, man, was that bilateral agreements on education was set, which was a landmark for the education industry. It was called the Mutual Recognition of Qualifications, the MRQ. People
Mm-hmm.
in the education industry would be aware, and it was signed in July 2022, if I'm not wrong. And it meant that the UK recognizes India's degrees, and vice versa. And this is
Mm-hmm.
not the case for a lot of countries.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at our South Asian neighbors, not all
Mm-hmm.
degrees are recognized. So the India there is being a global knowledge superpower, I would say. This,
Mm-hmm.
of course, eases student mobility and aligns with National Education Policy 2020, and also aligns with the Prime Minister's vision of India Vision 2047 when we complete 100 years of independence. So those are
Mm-hmm.
certain things, man, that still, from an education point of view, make the UK a very attractive.
Interesting, interesting. So you have mentioned that there are a lot of Indian students who are opting UK as one of the hub for their future educations or graduation or postgraduate education when it comes to. But it will be interesting to know how many private investors are investing in the UK education structure. If you have any details about that,
Do you want specific numbers or in
not
terms
specific,
of
but a generic idea about as to how many Indians would actually prefer to invest in the UK education sector.
in the education sector? The best way of investment would be a couple of things. From an
Mm-hmm.
education point of view, it would be getting a degree. I am an educator, and I always say that that's one of the biggest investments you can make. As an
Mm-hmm.
investor in general, you can invest in real estate. You can
Mm-hmm.
invest in private equity funds. You can invest in businesses that are growing. You can invest in healthcare. So there are quite a few fields and areas and businesses and ideas where people can invest.
Interesting, interesting. That seems to be quite promising for the investors. Again, another question would be that normally there is a perception in the market that UK is meant only for the top tier investors, and it doesn't hold opportunities for the mid scale or the smaller scale investors when it comes to a developed market like UK. So, is this true to a certain extent, or you have your own doubts to that?
See, I am no business expert or investment expert in business when it comes to. I can tell you
Yeah,
more
yeah.
about education, but in general, my
Mhm.
advice would be being an investor myself in the UK,
Yeah.
having personal investments. I have
Mhm.
always had a look at the market. I have seen what the global economy is doing, and is it fair
Mhm.
for me to take that decision to invest? And it depends when and how much you want to invest. It can be starting from 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 pounds to bigger
Mhm.
investments. So there are opportunities. It's just about finding the right ones and looking at the government website for details. For example, if a person has to move and invest and do certain things, the first thing
Mhm.
they need is a visa. So there are several visas like startup visa, like global talent visa, like this
Mhm.
self-sponsorship visa, which is starting your own business. So
Mhm.
there are opportunities in the UK, and the investment doesn't have to be significant. As long as you can showcase that, for example, to get a visa, you can showcase that there's a gap in the UK. We can
Yeah.
invest here. We can do a startup here. Then things will be very good in terms of your chances of investing and getting a visa. So other things could be looking at private equity funds and companies who take your money and invest in the UK. From
Mhm.
there can be monthly subscriptions, there can be yearly annual
Mhm.
packages. So it's something the investors have to explore themselves, but it depends on the industry they want to go in. And the world has become with social media, with LinkedIn, with all of those things, the world has become so accessible that you get an opportunity to interact with almost everyone. I give my own example. 9 out of 10
Mhm.
people will respond to a
Mhm.
query, to opportunity, to wanting to work together for a partnership, or at least give you some direction. So
Mhm.
there's high chances of us being more open to be approached or getting in contact with those people who can support. So that is my personal opinion on it.
Okay, interesting. Now, say for example, if one of the students in India is planning to come down to UK to complete his education, uh, what is that one advice you would give to him before actually making a move to UK?
Could you please repeat your question, man?
Yeah, I was saying that an Indian student who's basically planning to come down to UK for his future education or further educations, what is that one advice you would like to give to them that you should always keep this in mind before actually making a move to UK? These are the basic checklists that you should carry with yourself.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful question. And the question that students should ask. I always say that do your research, look at the course, what are they offering? For me, being brutally honest, sometimes students will go to the best universities but won't get the best education because maybe the
True.
setup isn't right for them. Maybe the modules aren't right for them. So, as I said, the UK's education and degree holds a lot of value. It doesn't matter which university you go to, but it totally depends on what research you're doing. If that course works well for you, if a small university with small environment where you can interact and you need personal support from your lecturers, from your tutors, if that's good for you, if that's the approach you want, you are more free to learn in a bigger classroom and you can find your own way. So you have to look at both things because the most important thing is education. What are the modules that work for you? What are
True.
the universities? What are the rankings? So you have to
Very
look
true.
at those
Very
things. The other things would be expenses, most important thing. And a lot of students make this mistake. Uh, if you look at the expenses in the UK, you can not only survive with the money you are showing to get a sponsorship letter, a cash letter, which enables you to get a visa. You have to plan your finances. Things won't be all roses and merry when you come in. You won't walk into a job. I have
true.
been rejected by thousands of places, and I can say it on record thousands for a job. So
Mhm.
there are those difficulties that international students also face because they do not sometimes plan. They didn't plan when I came in. So we need to face the consequences, learn from them. So
Mhm.
expenses, uh, have certain sort of work experience, see
Mhm.
what degree works for you, see what university, what environment works for you, and do your due diligence before coming.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely makes sense. And this is something we keep on saying again and again. Due diligence is very, very important. You need to do your homework before actually planning something, whether you're planning to go to UK or making any kind of investments. So keeping that in mind, I think one needs to do his prior homework before making the decisions. So moving forward, another
Absolutely.
important question is that a lot of students have this query that if we go to UK, how easy it is to get a job which is like an evening job where they can actually support themselves to a certain extent. And one of these gentlemen that we have spoken to recently, one of our panelists, advised the students to do some kind of a on-ground practical training in India, which is a much more beneficial affair. So it is always better to work here in India and then apply for education in UK so that you can get a job easily because of your prior experience. What do you have to say about that?
I think Jules Bank have always learned that the universities in general around the UK, over around 150 institutions are there, they organize employability fairs. All
Hmm.
of the universities have a career service. So
Hmm.
there is support when you come here, but as the panelist said rightly, you need to have some practical experience when you move from India. As I said, with my own personal experience, I got rejected at most of places over the years because lack of work experience. I just walked out of school and came here, and I thought that I will walk into a job which didn't happen. So my advice would be reiterating the point that the panelists said that you have to have some sort of work experience or
Hmm.
extracurricular to showcase that you are good enough to sort of support yourself and get a job. The job
Hmm.
market is very competitive. Students have to remember that. So there are support and resources provided by the university. There are career and employability fairs. There is events when you get to meet industry leaders. You
True.
don't have that access in India. There's a lot of gap between someone who's just starting on an entry level and CEO. But in the UK, even if you are just an intern or just starting up, you can go and directly speak to the head of the institution, to the head of the organization. You have a
True.
word with him and get his insight. Those things are because of the culture that the UK market has and the UK work sector has in general, whether it be education, healthcare, or anywhere. And that's something that really enables people to become a better version of themselves and learn from the best.
True, 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 true. Absolutely, I second that completely. I mean, that absolutely makes sense because once you have your hand-on experience on a particular subject or particular job, it's much more easier to convince the other person that you have the skills required to impart during that tenure. Definitely. Apart from that, what are the common mistakes or common, I would say, the students normally don't keep into consideration while they are actually moving to UK? What are the common mistakes that you have seen that they should always check before planning to come down to UK?
So I think you are asking some wonderful questions about awareness because students do turn up and are often misguided by the agents back home. So
Absolutely.
I've worked in different roles when it comes to supporting international students. I was the first Indian Students' Union president in the history of University of Greater Manchester, and then I worked as the international welfare. I worked in admissions, and now I'm looking at the business strategy of the university. And I realized that a lot of students are misguided. For example, a little thing would be a few questions ago when you asked me about what due diligence they need to do and
Yeah.
how can they select the right course. And I told that they have to do their research. What students do is some people just want to migrate to the UK, right? And
Mhm.
there's no harm in that. And there sometimes there's no option for people. And I'm not someone who would comment on personal circumstances.
True.
But the agents say that you can just, enter the UK and then you can disappear. And that's the worst advice that you can get. I
True.
remember in 2019, I was the Students' Union president, and I was aware that a group of students were given this advice. And I asked them to act against it. And now they have got jobs in the industry. Couple of years later, post-study work visa was introduced. And they got jobs in their industry professionals. Just think, if they would have been illegal, if they would have run away, if they would have gotten into other things, they would be struggling. They would neither be able to go home. And if they go home by being sent back by the home office, they will be able to go back to anything.
True.
Never just come for the sake of it. Know the risks involved, or know that there's heavy investment. Know that your parents sometimes take big loans, big risks to get you there. So be fair to them. Secondly, the most important thing, be fair to yourself. Do you reckon that you, being an account student, a commerce student, will
Hmm.
do a science course and you will excel on it? No. If you don't have
Yep.
it, just don't come for the sake of it. Come because
True.
you can become something. And the UK has been an enabler for immigrants to be successful. Look at the first Indian heritage prime minister. Look at the number of MPs. There are four Sikh MPs in the parliament, multiple Muslim MPs, multiple African heritage MPs. Look at the diversity, look at the opportunity. And that's just politics, healthcare, education. Like you have to have an eye for it and you need to be open to take the right risk in the right direction. Don't go the other way of not actually being someone who doesn't even have visa. So one thing, don't believe in new agents. Do your due diligence. Don't let them fool you. If something's too good to be true, don't accept it.
True.
Funnily enough, one of my friends, when we were in year 12 and we were finishing school, and he got scholarship from
Hmm.
a different country, a different university. But this is a relevant example. And I was very happy. You got $10,000 or 10,000
Yeah.
pounds of scholarship. I'm really happy with you. He said if they're
Hmm.
giving me scholarship, this it's not a right place to go. So
Hmm.
having that awareness that isn't too good to be true in that sense as well.
True.
So
True. True.
one of the things is be aware of fake agents. Second thing is be aware of the expenses. Third thing is that nothing will be handed to you in the UK. You have to believe it. You have to take it. It's there for the taking, but don't
Hmm.
work in directions that risk your education. Don't work in directions that risk your health, and don't forget your purpose why you are here. And education never goes wasted. You have to start you finish what you started. So those are few things I can think on top of my head.
That's interesting. Very interesting. I think that's a very interesting example that you have given because a lot of people have in mind that as soon as they get a scholarship for a particular college, they are onto it. But they need to see a bigger picture. I mean, it's not just one scholarship that can actually help you to get the access of the college. There are many more elements attached to it. So one needs to consider them quite rigorously in terms of your stay, your fooding, your overall stay in terms of your other expenses which are included in the stay itself. So all things need to be considered wisely. That's true. Perfect. Now, the last but not the least important question from which is basically an FAQ that we have received from most of the people about what is your vision for the next decade? How do you see the UK higher education, especially from the innovation and investment perspective?
Mine, could you please repeat your question if that's okay?
Yeah. So the last question I'm going to ask you is a common FAQ that we have received again and again from many of these students and parents. That how do you see the UK education structure in the next decade, and what are the I mean, key advantages you think it's going to be one of the most fruitful investment for people to take their education in UK itself?
I think I can speak from Indian perspective. I can speak from my
Yes.
own
Yes.
sort of
True.
experience, and I would say that India, in general, if you look at the gift city that they're developing in
Yeah.
Gujarat, it is India's time to be a global superpower in education.
Hmm.
And what we have to also realize is a lot of investment is being made by foreign universities in India because they want to build their presence and they want to expand their horizon and give them access to students because not everyone can travel, not everyone can have that access to education. But with the UK universities coming, that would be big. In the next 10 years, I think India would take over in a lot of sense when it comes to opportunities in higher education. They have already surpassed China as the
Mhm.
bigger source of international students. And
Mhm.
even for people, there will be a lot of access to more roles in leadership, more roles in healthcare, more roles in the industry they want to go to. Because the
Mhm.
current market would not be something that will be there forever. There are ups and downs in every
Yeah,
economy. The most
true.
important thing we need to learn that there is now EdTech and their role, and it increases the accessibility and digital engagement. So that would be big. Expansion through online courses. So if you don't want to send your
Yes.
student or you don't want to send the kid away, there are most universities that sort of give you a blended experience. And in those you can actually learn and grow. In general, when it comes to investment, there are funding gaps that the university has felt because the whole UK tuition fees is 9,250 from 2012, right? What has
Mhm.
happened man, with everything invest knows that with inflation, it hasn't grown. So
Mhm. Mhm.
9,250 pounds would be around 6,000 pounds or something. So the value has decreased and the expenses have increased for the university. That's why they're
True.
over reliant on international students who, on average, get 22,000 pounds a year. 22,000
True.
pounds. And it's just, geez, what we contribute to the economy, what we contribute to the towns, to the cities that we're there, what we actually, where we are valued would be bigger because there will always be a conflict with the UK actually getting an opportunity, the universities to expand their home fees for the student because the government pays for it. Uh,
Yeah.
Eventually, I know I can sense that there will be an increase, and it should be at least £12,000 for home students. Of course, they get the education loan and all of those facilities. But I'm
Oh.
saying that there's a huge dependence on us international people, international students. So
Mhm.
the more we invest, the more we uh, increase the educational gap, the more we increase our own exposure. So the next 10 years are ours. And the fees paid by international students are one form of private capital inflow that universities rely on to subsidize teaching and maintain quality for the home students. And with these fundings, they build upon the campuses, the scholarships, the research, the new buildings. So scholarships, yes, sorry. So scholarships, uh, I would like to go back to my point where you do your due diligence. Also look at scholarships options because there's several that the government does as well. There's a Chevening scholarship, there's Commonwealth scholarship, there's internal scholarships in the
Yeah.
university. And if you deserve, and if you are capable, and if you have good, you can go as well. So the UK needs us more than we need the UK at the moment. That's the clear
Mhm.
picture for the next 10 years. That's what I feel. I hope that answers your
Fantastic.
question, man.
Yes, absolutely. That was very well answered. And I think we have been able to increment the knowledge of the parents and the students or any kind of investors who are looking to basically be part of the education sector itself. So, with
Absolutely.
that, any concluding remarks you would like to give?
What I would say is that, man, this is India's trying to be a global knowledge superpower, and young people, I would just like to say there's a bigger and a better world outside your phones. So have a look, explore, um, be educated, um, learn, and realize that you have unlimited potential. When it comes to the UK, yes, there is a big opportunity for investment. There is a big
Mhm.
opportunity for you to learn and grow. For due
Yeah,
diligence, always remember that you are responsible for direction you go at. And whilst there can be difficulties that would only make you better and enhance your own personality. So
true.
just keep the process of lifelong learning, upskill yourself, ask questions, and this going for you to be wonderful, to grow, and to be future leaders in different industries.
Absolutely, absolutely. Once again, thank you so much, Ansh, for coming on board and talking about the education sector in UK. It was, I mean, a pleasure to have you with us. And all our esteemed delegates who are joining, if you have any kind of questions which you want to direct to Ansh, please feel free to write in the comment box, or you can also put it in the Q&A of the virtual platform that we have. And with this, we conclude this session. And once again, thank you so much, Ansh.
Mike, you can also share my email with the students or any delegates who have any questions related
Sure.
to the UK, studying in the UK, or potentially even knowing and learning about the education sector. So my email is as20@bolton.ac.uk. That's as20@bolton.ac.uk. So let me know if you have any questions. And thank you, Mayank, for giving me an opportunity to speak to delegates, to learn, and actually have a wider idea of what the youth, young people, investors want. And this is a
True.
great platform, and you're doing great work. But I hope that the next 10 years are India's years, and we keep growing.
True, true, very true. Thank you so much, Ansh. And with this, we conclude the session. Look forward to seeing you in the next session. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Ansh.
Thank you.